we'll begin with the adoption of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll go ahead and second that.
Chairman Hayman,
Aye.
Vice Chair Peters,
Aye.
Director St. Amand,
Yes.
Director Itmeyer,
Aye.
Director Vallejo.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next, we'll move to public comment on closed session. Do we have any public comment from the floor? Seeing none, any public comment on the phones? None? All right, with that, we will now move into closed session. And we will begin with report out on closed session with Council Keith Lemieux.
Sure. First off, the board met in closed session to discuss real property negotiations for the water rights identified on the agenda, as well as a discussion regarding some of the pending litigation. I have nothing to report out of today's closed session, but I do have a report to make from the closed session of October. And that is, so just to explain, under the Brown Act, when you have a settlement direction from the board in closed session, if the settlement is final at that time, then you have to report it coming out of the closed session. If the final approval rests with another party, then you don't have to report it coming out of that closed session. In fact, you don't have to report it until a member of the public requests information about it after it becomes final. Because this issue is so important, we're going to go ahead and announce it even though we haven't had that request yet. So it is my pleasure to present good information to the public. I think you guys already know about this because there's been some indication in the press, but we reached a settlement with Searles Valley Minerals on their writ case against the Groundwater Authority, as well as the Groundwater Authority's case against them for unpaid replenishment fees. The broad outlines of the settlement are as follows. Those cases were dismissed with prejudice by both parties, and in addition, Searles has agreed to take the recycled water in an amount that could be as much as 2,000 acre-feet from the city's treatment plant for use at the mine. This is a way of getting them to not use potable water that would be pumped from the basin otherwise. And they've agreed that they will negotiate with the city to enter into a contract to receive that water, because they then would be securing the water they need going forward. There isn't a need to purchase replenishment water in that amount for them. And therefore, there was not a legal purpose anymore for the replenishment fee. So the replenishment fee, therefore, was eliminated for them both in the past and going forward. The case was dismissed, and we can now get about the business of trying to work cooperatively to get them off the basin. And of course, that provides more potable water for all the other parties. So that is the nature of the agreement. We're very happy to have reached it. And no, I'm not going to take any questions on this topic, obviously, because there's a lot that is still protected by attorney-client privilege. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay, next, if everybody will please rise and face the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next we'll have roll call.
Chairman Hayman,
Present.
Vice Chair Peters,
Present.
Director St. Amand,
Present.
Director Itmeyer,
Present.
Director Vallejo.
Present.
Okay, public comment. This time is reserved for the public to address the board about matters not on the agenda. No action will be taken on non-agenda items unless authorized by law.
comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. Do we have any public comment from the floor?
Renee Westelusk. I live within Ridgecrest city limits. I have 2 items. One is I'd just like to know the change in representation of the U.S. Navy at the GA meetings. We used to have active duty representing the Navy, and curious about why that's changed. And then my other question is, I don't know if Stetson Engineering or someone else can comment on this, but it's constantly being brought up at water district meetings by the water board that members that the pipeline that you are all working on to get to fruition will have to be replaced fairly often, but I don't know what that means. But that it'll have to be replaced, and it'll just keep costing the water ratepayers huge amounts of money. I don't know how long the pipelines from the California aqueduct that come down from Northern California last, but I don't think they have to replace them very often. I assume that the pipeline will be made out of the same materials or similar materials as the California aqueduct pipelines. So I would like to know how often or if the pipelines will have to be replaced at all. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. Any other public comment from the floor? Do we have any public comment on the phones? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to item number 7, board member comments. Do we have any comments from the board members? Sir? Okay. We'll move to item number 8, consent agenda. This will consist of items 8A, B, C, C1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Does any member of the public wish to have an item removed? Any member of the board wish to have an item removed? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it back.
Renee Westelusk again. I just have a question regarding number 7, trans systems. Can somebody refresh my memory? Because I thought everything was being done under Blue Mountain Development. I don't understand the trans systems.
Trans System is the company doing they're doing right-of-way, right? They're doing the right-of-way acquisitions for the pipeline.
They were hired by Blue Mountain Development?
No, we have a contract with them that we started back in 22, I believe, when we did the award for the contracts for the pipeline design.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, I'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
Motion to approve.
I just want to make a quick note. Director St. Amand pointed out to me there is an edit that will be made to the minutes, very minor, just under the call to order. I left it Chairman Heyman, but you weren't here at the last meeting, so I do need to change that to Chairman Peters.
Okay.
And that is all.
Very good.
I'll make a motion to approve as amended.
Second.
Chairman Heyman,
Aye.
Vice Chair Peters,
Aye.
Director St. Amand,
Yes.
Director Itnyer,
Aye.
Director Vallejo.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving to item number 9, board review and approval of the resolution 02-25 regarding 2026 board rotation.
Yeah, I think I'm handling that one.
Yes.
So as you guys are no doubt aware, when the GA was founded, it was originally contemplated that both the general manager originally, the chair, and the attorney would rotate each year between the water district, the county, and the city. A few years ago, the decision was made to stop rotating the water district through in those positions. The water district's attorney expressed concern about a potential conflict of interest given the litigation, and based on that, the board made a decision not to rotate the water district in. The city has been serving as the chair and the attorney this year, obviously. Normally, then, it would rotate to the county. However, having talked to county staff, it is our understanding that because Supervisor Peters is expected to be the chair of the Board of Supervisors next year, that it would be difficult for him to rotate in as chair. There is not a county council to rotate in to replace me, and so the proposal is to keep everything the same as it is currently. Did I get that right, Supervisor Peters?
100%.
Okay.
Okay, bring it back to the board for any questions or comments from the board.
None for me.
Okay, do we have any public comment from the floor? Seeing none, any public comment on phones? None? And so I'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
I'll make a motion and tell Chairman Heyman thanks for being willing to sit in the hot seat for one more year.
Thank you, sir, my pleasure.
I'll second.
Chairman Heyman,
Aye.
Vice Chair Peters,
Aye.
Director St. Amand,
Abstain.
Director Etnier,
Aye.
Director Vallejo.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving to item number 10, board review and approval of resolution 03-25, establishing policy for remote teleconference appearances. This will again be with Council Keith Lemieux.
So there has been a change in the law that relates to the Brown Act and how teleconferencing takes place. In the past, there was no limit on there were certain requirements about teleconferencing, but they did not include a limit on the number of times you could teleconference or certain other things. This change in the law has added some new requirements, I guess is the short version. One of them is that we have to adopt this resolution in order to allow it. Another thing is it now, in addition to the existing requirements, there's now a limit on the number of times that the teleconferencing can be invoked outside of emergency or health reasons by members. It also imposes a bunch of requirements that frankly we do already, involving allowing the public to teleconference and see the feed, so we're a little bit ahead of the game on that. I will point out that one of the other things it requires is that when members are teleconferencing remotely and we have the ability to put them on camera, they have to have their cameras on. So these are some changes going forward. This would all be effective at the start of next year. Again, it's required by law, so this is not an optional thing. If we want to keep teleconferencing, we have to adopt the resolution, follow the guidelines.
Very good, thank you, sir. Bring it back to the board for any questions or comments from the board.
I've got a quick question, but I'm enjoying gremlins on my microphone.
Sorry, I understand there's a question being asked, but we can't hear at this point.
Right, I was having some issues with my microphone. So did I hear correctly that the law now requires both audio feed and video feed from the participants?
That's right.
Okay. I understand there's some other requirements as well that weren't mentioned in the resolution. Do you confident that your resolution is going to cover all of those items? For example,
I am.
Oral
Yes.
report requirement and so on. You didn't mean this to be a comprehensive report on all of the requirements?
That's right. This is the resolution that was necessary to allow it to move forward, but
Okay.
There may be other requirements. And remember, there's other ways of teleconferencing as well in emergency that have additional requirements associated with them.
Okay, all right. Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Okay, any public comment from the floor?
Judy Decker. Yes, this new requirement also includes the requirement that if someone is going to teleconference remotely, they have to post the agenda and the meeting place so the public can attend. The public where they are can attend. Is that still correct?
That is already a requirement, and that requirement remains.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Any public comment on the phones? Okay, we'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
Motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
Chairman Hayman,
Aye.
Vice Chair Peters,
Aye.
Director Saint Amand,
Yes.
Director Itnire,
Aye.
Director Vallejo.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving to item number 11, board review and approval of professional services agreement with Regional Government Services. This will be with our General Manager, Carol.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So it's the end of the year, and this is the time when we generally ask you to consider renewal of various contract services. The first one on the agenda today is your contract for comprehensive administrative services. You've contracted with RGS since 2021. And as you know, we provide you with a general manager, clerk of the board, and your accounting and finance staff, and then other administrative services as may be needed. For 2026, we're proposing to keep a similar scope of work, although we're going to put additional focus on a strong managerial and financial leadership and enhanced communication activities as well. This is the same budget amount that we're proposing. We don't have a not to exceed in this contract. It's just based on our rate schedule, but we did have a number in your budget which was adopted in October. Basically, we're proposing to keep the amount steady this year as it was last year and the year before. So the 2026 agreement is proposed for your consideration. I'm happy to answer any questions. Also here with us today is Chris Paxton. He is the Chief Operating Officer for Regional Government Services.
Very good, thank you, Carol. Bring it back to the board for any questions or comments. None? Okay, any public comment from the floor? Seeing no public comment on the phones, we'll bring it back to the board for motion.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Chairman Hayman,
Aye.
Vice Chair Peters,
Aye.
Director Saint Amand,
Yes.
Director Itnire,
Aye.
Director Vallejo.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving to item number 12, board review and approval of the 2026 legislative priorities, Capital Corps Group Work Plan and Contract Amendment. This will be with Capital Corps and Michael McKinney.
I'm going to take a
Good
look at the
afternoon,
board.
members.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I didn't know if Michael was available.
I am available.
Good.
Thank you very much. In your packet, of course, is the updated version of the 2026 legislative agenda. For the past few years, the authority has adopted a legislative priority and legislative agenda for the upcoming year. In the packet, we talk about what the board directed back in December of 2024, the accomplishments that occurred during 2025, what carried over, and what is going on into 2026. I'm happy to answer any questions regarding that document and take any questions regarding our work plan for 2026.
Thank you, Michael. We'll bring it back to the board. Any questions or comments?
I got a couple questions.
Go ahead.
When are you planning to re-engage in Sacramento?
I'm sorry, Director Santamon, say that one more time. When do we re-engage in Sacramento?
Are you actively engaged in Sacramento now? And if not, when do you plan to re-engage?
All year.
So active, you're currently active.
So in other words, yes, we are actively engaged and currently active and will continue so.
Okay. Can you explain to me how, I think you mentioned forced starts in the document? Is that, or not forced start, but working with the Corps of Engineers. Can you explain to me how that works?
Project initiation.
Yep. The early initiation of the project, yeah.
I would assume you're talking about the pipeline?
Yes, the related to the word of money and the department. The Army
WRDA
Corps of
would
Engineers.
indicate right.
$5 million, I believe,
Once
is the total.
money is appropriated, yes, once money is appropriated, it's called initiated start, and that would come from the direction of Congress to the Army Corps of Construction.
Michael, you may have to repeat that. Your connection was cutting out.
Sorry about that. So what would happen is money is appropriated from Congress. That initiates a project start with the U.S. Army Corps.
So there was some discussion of an early start that would be getting a $5 million chunk of money from the feds to start to engage with and begin work with the Army Corps of Engineers. Is that still ongoing?
Yes, that is part of what was approved last Board of Directors meeting.
Okay, so how does that work? What do you need, what's necessary in order to get that early start with the Army Corps?
This is not an early start. This is the initiation. This is the physical construction.
Sorry, Mike,
It
you're
moved
breaking up.
Yeah, Mr. McKinney, your connection is breaking up. Sorry.
I apologize. Todd, could you step in for me while I get a better connection?
Sure. My understanding is when that word of money kicks off the start with the Army Corps, that allows the Army Corps to begin the process of going through all of the plans and studies that we have done to date before they initiate their own process. And we are working directly with Blue Mountain on coordinating with the Army Corps of Engineers.
Okay, Earl, thank you.
Any public comment from the floor? We have a comment on the phone, so caller, go ahead.
Hello, this is Mike Sanat. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead, sir.
Mr. McKinney, assuming that the outdated science and model of the groundwater authority's production is subordinated to the newer data and model from the Water District's technical working group, this is going to create a circumstance under which the Indian Wells Valley doesn't need to do anything other than conservation, maybe some supplemental water from alternative sources locally, or a water swap that would involve buying some table A water and trading that water for some water out of the LA aqueduct. I'm certain there's three major problems here with this GA. One is that the GA is not locally controlled. which was a primary selling point of the law in the first place. And number two, if there were serious overdraft, we would see the undesirable results of that overdraft, which we don't have in the Indian Wells Valley. If there's any wells going dry, it's typically because they're concentrated in a small area and there's a cone of depression, and they're old wells and shallow wells. And as far as subsidence is concerned, we're not like the San Joaquin Valley, wherein you can look at the San Joaquin Valley like a bunch of mud in a big bowl, and we have a bunch of sand and rocks. And when we have lots of rain, or we have lots of pumping, the levels in the ground don't sink. And that's proven recently by the fact that we had earthquakes, 2 major earthquakes, and there was no settling subsidence as a result. So to me, what you could do for this valley is arrange for legislation.
Okay, Mike, wrap it up.
I will. I would like to see some legislation giving the the Indian Wells Valley an exclusion from any further compliance with SGMA. Thank you.
Okay. Any other public comments on the phone? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Chairman Hayman,
Aye.
Vice Chair Peters,
Aye.
Director St. Amand,
No.
Director Itnire,
Aye.
Director Vallejo.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving to item number 13, board review and approval of the agreement with Westbound Communications for public outreach services. This will be General Manager Carol.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So in your packet is a staff report and a scope of work addendum to our agreement with Westbound Communications. And Westbound has been working for the Groundwater Authority since, just a little over a year, November of last year. And their focus for the past year has been primarily on public information, providing information to the community about the groundwater sustainability plan. They've produced a lot of press releases, website improvements, assisted us with a social media presence. But now we're looking at a bit of a change or an addition to that scope of work. We're looking for Westbound to assist us in further developing our materials and our activities in our communications and engagement plan. As I know you'll recall, we had some great recommendations from our PAC, our Policy Advisory Committee. So we're looking to take those recommendations and start developing them. The scope of work addendum that you have in your packet includes an outline of some activities that Westbound is proposing to do. And the proposal is to do these activities within the existing budget, basically the monthly and annual not to exceed. So it would essentially just replace other work that they're doing, or they would manage the work to stay within the existing budget. So the action here is just to request that you consider approval of that Addendum B to the agreement with Westbound, amending the existing scope of work and no budget increase.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Carol. We'll bring it back to the board for any questions or comments they may have.
I have a couple of comments. Reading through this, I see Addendum A is a mismatch of misinformation about the water district that's equivalent to an ad hominem attack. It's the same sort of language that seems to make its way into many of the Groundwater Authority's communications, and I object to it, absolutely. I see also that we're to educate the public on independent, high-quality science used to develop the plan. So I'm going to officially request again to have access to the information used to develop the allocation table in the original groundwater sustainment plan. I'd like that published, please. And then finally, it says debunker myths or disinformation that's been spread. So for the public to note, last month I was wondering who wrote the press release that was in October talking about the agreement between Searles Valley and the Groundwater Authority. And I would like to say, especially to Westbound, that when you're considering misinformation, there are several serious deviations from what was published by the Groundwater Authority and what Searles Valley said in an op-ed published on December 5th in the Daily Independent. A number of things, among which the Groundwater Authority press release said that Searles Valley Minerals will now work with the Groundwater Authority to implement the groundwater sustainability plan. And Searles Valley Mineral in that article said that basin management decisions remain a part of ongoing adjudication. And they remain engaged in the adjudication, will continue to advocate for a fair and equitable physical solution. The publication said that Searles Valley Mineral now supports the pipeline project, and Searles Valley Minerals replied that they merely agreed not to oppose the pipeline, but have not yet made a commitment to take water from it. Searles Valley Mineral, in the press release, they said they'll replace 2,000 acre-feet of pumping with recycled water, and they said they will work with the city to use reclaimed water, but only when it's available, technically feasible and practical. As it stands right now, my understanding is they can't take untreated water for use in their plant processes. Overall partnership, the press release said the settlement shows a collaboration partnership between Searles Valley Mineral and the Groundwater Authority. And Searles Valley Mineral clarified that the agreement only addresses specific financial issues and intends to maintain its independent legal positions, for example, opposition to AB 1413. And finally, litigation status. Overall conflicts between the GA and the Searles Valley Mineral is largely resolved, and that's from the press release. And Searles Valley Mineral clarified that only certain claims were settled. So there's some copies of the opinion available if any should like. I'm sorry, the rebuttal by or the comments by Searles Valley Minerals President Dennis Cruz, if anybody would like a copy. But if we're going to talk about misinformation, disinformation, Westbound Communications must do homework to make sure that, in fact, they're getting the high-quality information that they need to do their job.
Well, let me just comment that Westbound doesn't produce this information in a vacuum. We provide them with information, they produce a draft, and it's reviewed and approved by a number of staff, including legal counsel in this case. So the information is not approved until we've all had a chance to review it, ensure it's correct, ensure we agree with it. So I believe we all stand behind what we produced.
So thank you for that. Then I will tell you that you need to be more careful in your public relations releases, and the language in Addendum A is unhelpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So you said that the article published by Westbound Consulting was misinformation based on the rebuttal by Searles Valley Mineral.
No, I'm talking about the language in Addendum A.
No, you said in the Searles Valley Minerals rebuttal that it was published in the Daily Independent.
Op-ed.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You said that showed that our communication was misinformed.
I said that the characterization of the agreement by the press release was significantly different than what is described by the president of Searles Valley Minerals.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear you clarify that, because that is not what you said. And I would like to ask in Addendum A what specifically Westbound put in here that's not correct about the district.
Well, I'm told that actually that's not Westbound Communications language.
Okay.
So let's see.
This is in their presentation, so this is a Westbound document in their Addendum A to the agenda.
Well, let me see if I can find my Addendum A notes, and then we will dive into that. Okay. It's a large board packet, so I hope the public will be patient. I know that. So just, there's pages of it, there's 4 pages of it, unless you want me to read the whole thing.
Well,
We're not going to litigate at the meeting, but district board members have been repeatedly asked about the cost of litigation on ratepayers, as they have steadfastly refused to discuss the matter, providing their litigation budget for public review. If I remember correctly, we have been providing that information, and in fact, that was asked of us at our board meeting on Monday, and we answered that question on Monday.
Of this week?
Let's see, of this week, yes.
And what was your answer?
I'll have to defer to our general manager because I don't remember the exact figure, or Jim Worth, if he can remember. 3.8 million.
3.8 million
Yep,
for 2020 through 2025 current.
development of the model. Right, and somewhere in here, it also says that the water district has failed to produce a working model, and that is not true. All models have been provided to the court for the adjudication, and it is a working model. The district's board voted to engage in this litigation even though they did not possess any new scientific information to justify their actions. The board became suspicious of how the groundwater sustainment plan was put together by continued refusal to provide the data for the allocation table. And so at that time, we engaged in a technical working group to get some new data, including brand new data from the state of California that uses remote sensing, a technique developed by, I believe it's the Danes, and now used as a standard across the state. Data which the Groundwater Authority has refused to review or incorporate into the groundwater sustainment plan. So while it is true that at that moment we had not completed our study, it suggests that we are acting without regard to the truth or scientific investigation, and that is not true. It takes time to do an appropriate scientific review of the existing data and any new data that's coming in.
You know, I apologize, and I hate doing this, but I think we're pretty far off the agenda item at this point, which is the westbound
Okay, I'll bring it back
contract.
to a little more pointed. So you have an interpretation of this information and your overview of westbound. And so I want the public to know that that is strictly your interpretation. It is not disinformation that is being spread, as you stated earlier.
How the material is stated and the accusations contained in the document are stated are intended to cause confusion, and that is misinformation.
You're picking and choosing items out of it that other people would beg to differ with you.
I don't think your
wholeheartedly,
legal department wants to review this in detail, and we can legislate this at some other time.
We'll let it end at that, but it is not disinformation.
It is,
That
and
your
it stands as
opinion,
disinformation, and it's
we'll
not
leave
an
it at that.
opinion.
Okay, well, my question was just to clarify, because if there are concerns with it, I want to make sure those concerns are addressed, so I would prefer that we get answers to those questions, but if our council is telling us to hold off and address it another time because we can on the agenda, I'm okay with that.
Well, I can just tell you that Addendum A was last year, so things may have changed, conditions may have changed. All we're really looking at right now is Addendum B and increasing the scope of work to work on the communications and engagement plan. And that will take us back to the agenda.
Okay. So well before Monday of this week. I'm glad to hear it.
Correct. Okay, I'll bring, any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, any public comment from the floor?
Judy Decker. If you recall, I was vice chairman of the Policy Advisory Committee, and one of the things that we worked on at the very latter part of our meetings, and we gave to the board, it went through our committee approved it, we gave it to the board, and the board adopted it, is a set of directions and advice for domestic well owners should they have problems with their well. I would hope that westbound communications would not change any of that information. It was put together by a technical person, namely Don Decker, who sat on your technical advisory committee. And it is important not to change those documents because they clearly are an assistance to the private well owner who might have well problems and could look up that first before spending a lot of money in hiring the well driller. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy.
Renee Westelusk, resident of Ridgecrest. I have two comments. One is, I agree with what was written in Addendum A in the past, because the Water District, I asked more than once for their expenditures for legal, and they said I had to file some public information form, and I never got around to that. But the cost was never revealed until this last Water District meeting. All we were given in the beginning was Mr. Douglas Everett of the law firm representing the Water District. What in the beginning they said at a town hall meeting it was going to cost the district about $1 million a year to do this adjudication. And if you calculate from June or July of 2021, when this lawsuit was first launched for the adjudication, and you go to 2024, that's $1 million a year, and then actually 2025 is $1 million a year, and then they had the cost for the model, which was another $1 million. So basically, they've spent close to $5 million total on this adjudication, and they revealed they spent 3.8 just on legal fees at the Water District meeting, and then it was another $1 million because it was in their budget documents this year how much they were spending on the model. So they spent like about $5 million. So I just want you to know that if Addendum A was written last year, up until this meeting this past Monday, there was no revelation of how much it was costing. I just wanted to clarify that. And then I want to say thank you for having Westbound work on the C&E plan, because the PAC did put a lot of work onto that. Thank you.
So Renee, can I ask, Renee, you were referring to the Water District meeting of this past Monday, correct?
Yes, 2 days ago.
When that was finally revealed.
That was finally revealed 2 days ago.
Right.
And I've been faithfully attending many of the Water District meetings. Occasionally I miss one, but it's never been revealed since I've been watching for the last 3 to 4 years the cost of the adjudication to the Water District.
Thank you very much.
Just off the top of your head, do you happen to know how much the Groundwater Authority has spent in legal fees on this?
Yeah, but they were sued, okay? So they had to defend themselves.
They were not, well, you mean, talking about the adjudication now, not Searles Valley Minerals.
Well, they were forced to go into the
They joined
adjudication.
voluntarily, yes.
Yeah, they
So
have
the
to
answer is,
defend
you don't really
themselves.
have a number off the top of your
I
head.
don't know what
Okay,
they're
thank you.
spending other than going through their budget.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Renee.
But you didn't have to file this adjudication. That's the bottom line.
We did have to file the adjudication.
You didn't have to do an adjudication. You should have made Searles Valley Mineral or Big Ag launch the adjudication. Why do the ratepayers have to?
You can ask that again at our board meeting. We had to file the adjudication and make it comprehensive.
End of that exchange. Any other public comment from the floor? Okay, we'll move to the phones. Caller, go ahead.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the board? Hello,
Caller, go ahead.
my name is Mike Sanat. Boy, I'm entertained. You guys really take the cake, trying to defend yourselves. You've already ruined your reputations, and hiring a PR firm that you don't need to try to retrieve them is ridiculous. Now, as far as westbound communications is concerned, you don't need them. I've run a business in the communications industry for 20 years. I've worked with large companies. I know how they operate. I know how they communicate. This is the job that the general manager should be performing. You have multiple degrees of separation by hiring your communications out to some firm from Riverside. And I'm not trying to belittle that firm. Maybe they're a great firm. You don't need them. This is the job that the GA should be doing. They should be preparing the documents. They should be preparing the press releases. They should be going down to the printer and getting the brochures printed. They shouldn't have to have committees going back and forth trying to decide what they're going to put in a press release. So quit trying to separate yourselves from the responsibilities that you're supposed to be doing. There's no reason for this argument. And you can put down on paper what is the information you want to convey and then take responsibility for it. And then the facts will bear it out. But right now, when you start putting out press releases that say we're going to run out of water in 41 years, that's ridiculous. Okay, thank you very much.
Any other public comment from the phones? Caller, go ahead. None? Okay. Okay, we'll bring it back to the board for motion.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Chairman Hayman,
Aye?
Vice Chair Peters,
Aye.
Director St. Amand,
No.
Director Etnier,
Aye.
Director Vallejo.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving to item number 14, Provost and Pritchard change orders for the imported water pipeline, consisting of items A, change order under contract for design services, and B, change order under contract for CEQA NEPA documents and permit documentation services. This will be with Jeff Helsey with Stetson.
Thank you, Chairman, and good morning, everyone. There are two items under this agenda item, two potential actions for the board to consider. One of them is an increase in the budget for design services for the imported water pipeline, and that's an increase of $109,965. The other potential action item is an increase in the environmental services budget for the imported water project, and that's an increase of $20,066. Both of these change orders came about because of delays in the project, primarily from satisfying all the environmental review requirements to be able to get the permit from the BLM to do our geotechnical borings. We weren't able to do those until much later than we had originally planned. There was some pretty extensive planning and documentation on environmental issues in the sensitive habitats where we needed to do our geotechnical borings, and also some extensive observations during that work and mitigation afterwards. And the other reason is due to Southern California Edison has been later in getting their design done than we had originally anticipated. These change orders are both for project management and coordination from April through the end of this month. They come about because the consultants had anticipated when they put their budgets, existing budgets together, that they would be done with their work by March of this year. Because of those delays, they weren't complete, so they have had management coordination costs above what they had budgeted. The reason this is came to the board first last month instead of earlier, because the consultant did submit these change orders earlier in the year before they got to these expenses, is because the water resource manager spent quite a bit of time working with the consultant, Provost and Pritchard, to understand what was in the change orders. We actually had some revisions made along the way. We spent quite a bit of time talking with the Groundwater Authority staff so that they understood the change orders. And when we had completed our discussions with the GA staff was about the time we were bringing Omar Dandashi and Blue Mountain on. It was asked that he review these. So he got his review done and we brought it to the board last month, and the board asked that we bring it back this month. So it is here. I did want to point out that some of these program management services that the change orders that are included in the change order are things that the water resource manager and the GA staff asked the consultant to do. We are nearing the end of our DWR Sigma IP grant, and we have been trying to track that closely to make sure that we use all the money in the grant. So we had asked more than once this past year for Provost and Pritchard to project what their expenses, monthly expenses were going to be through the end of this year, so we could make sure we were going to use up all of the IP grant. And then when it came time to prepare the GA's 2026 budget, we working with the Groundwater Authority staff, we also asked PNP to project their monthly expenditures for next year. So some of those costs for them to do those projections for us are in there. Let's see. There are two other agenda items after this related to the Provost and Pritchard contacts, items 15 and 16, just to sort of give you the whole view of what we're asking you to look at today. Those are just extensions of the time of the contract. There's no change in scope and budget in those other two agenda items. And we'll address those, each of them as we come to them. So that's my introduction. I'm going to ask Omar Dandashi with Blue Mountain to sort of talk about where he's at, and then I think Jeff Davis is there and be able to give you a brief summary of what's in the change orders. And I believe Don Marple is also there and can give a summary on environmental or respond to questions. With that, I'll turn it over to Omar unless there are any questions for me.
Omar, are you on?
I am.
Great, very good.
Thank you very much for your time. Just to add to what Jeff has mentioned, we did spend some time taking a look at the details of the work that was accomplished between roughly April to the end of October. We are spending from last month to this month preparing kind of our action plan for moving into the next year. And that includes looking at some of these, I think, kind of technical issues, which includes things such as the scour, but also it includes the BLM, the SCE, also the environmental release for the document as well. So our goal by the end of this year, which is essentially a few weeks away, will be to have a game plan that we can bring back to the board for review. So the work that is included in part in this change order request is also for that time to be spent to try to look at that game plan. So I'm hoping that sort of helps give a little bit of context for the things that I have worked on. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Omar. Any questions from the board? Okay, we'll go ahead and move on. I believe Jeff with Provost and Pritchard has stepped up to the podium there, Omar, so we'll let him go ahead and speak also.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Jeff and Omar stole most of my thunder, fortunately or unfortunately. Maybe that's good for me. Nobody likes extensions. Nobody likes projects to get extended. Nobody likes projects to fall behind schedule. Boards don't like it. Consultants don't like it. Taxpayers don't like it. Nobody likes it. When I was general manager, this happened to me a few times, projects that we were involved with, and I took it as a personal affront to me that I would fail my board when things like this would happen. Would get more personally involved. What I found out over a period of time was that sometimes you can do everything right and stuff still gets delayed. And that's kind of what happened here, and Jeff Helsley kind of went into those issues. We've worked very closely with Dana and her staff at the BLM. We've had some differences of opinion, but in the end we had an agreement that said that we worked for them and we had to do what they told us to do. So we did delay the project. Again, we originally drafted this up upon your extension in February when you extended the project. So your staff has been looking at it since then. We've worked hard to reduce our overall project management costs. We've done that. We're not doing things today that we were doing 6, 8, 9 months ago to reduce these costs on a monthly basis. We're going to be working with your staff to see what we can do in the future moving forward to reduce them even more. I mean, we're doing our very, very best with a project that's gone on beyond when it was supposed to to keep our costs down as much as we possibly can. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Jeff. We'll bring it back to the board for any questions or comments that they may have.
Do you have a detailed development plan for the project?
So we're working, that's where Blue Mountain was brought on to do that, and so we're working closely with Blue Mountain and your staff to put that together. And I think that's going to be, they're going to be coming back to you with that next month or in February.
Okay,
So
thank
yes,
you.
we're working on it.
All right, but thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. I don't hear any other questions from the board, so we will move to the public for public comment from the floor. Okay, seeing none, and there is no public comments on the phone, we'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Chairman Hayman,
Aye.
Vice Chair Peters,
Aye.
Director St. Amand,
Abstain.
Director Etnier,
Aye.
Director Vallejo.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving to item number 15, board review and approval of agreement with Provost and Pritchard for design services. This again will be with Jeff Helsley with Stetson Engineering.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, this is for the design contract with Provost and Pritchard, and it's simply an extension in time. Currently, their contract calls for their contract to end in March 31st of next year. This extension proposes that that be extended another year. We're looking at it now. We'll bring back a more detailed schedule, but we believe they'll be done with their work by the end of 2026. We're proposing March 31st of 2027. So they, if we need it, they can provide us support on our EPA grant closeout that will take place those first 3 months of 2027. So there's no change in scope, no change in budget under this item, just extension of time under contract.
Okay, I'll bring it back to the board for any questions or comments for Jeff.
So there's no changes to the contract, but that includes there's no changes to any performance metrics or anticipated costs or the likelihood of additional cost overruns or change orders or anything in this. This is just locking us in for another year.
Well, there are no other changes to the contract other than the time extension. The contract does still, you referred to locking us in. We have the options to terminate the contract under the terms that are in the agreement, and that's not changing either. So any time during the year, we could terminate. It's just to allow them the time working with Omar to complete the work.
Okay. That's my only question for right now.
Any other questions from the board? Hearing none, we'll move to the floor for public comment.
Renee West-Dulusk, Ridgecrest. Is there any cost in the extension of doing the?
No, this
length?
motion, this motion does not change the cost under the contract. The prior board action made a change in the budget. This action does not.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other public comment? Seeing none on the phones, we'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
I'll just say, I'm being honest that the item 14 that we had, the change order, that was a one-time approval. That's not a vote of confidence, which, I have a lot of questions still and some concerns. So I understand the need to bridge the gap to get us through the first of the year. But as of right now, I'm not comfortable voting for this until we have a chance to evaluate some of our future needs and take a look at how some of the past performance has been and consider what our options are. So I would make a motion that we continue this to January.
I'll second that.
Chairman Hayman,
No.
Vice Chair Peters,
Aye.
Director St. Amand,
Yes.
Director Etnier,
Aye.
Director Vallejo.
I'll abstain on this one.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving to item number 16. Board review and approval of agreement with Provost and Pritchard for CEQA NEPA documentation services. And again, this will be with Jeff and Stetson.
Yep, thank you, Chairman. Similar to the prior item, this is an extension in time for the environmental services contract with Provost and Pritchard. Again, there's no increase in the budget through this action, just an extension of the time. The difference, significant difference in this one is the environmental contract runs out, it expires at the end of this month. And we are proposing to extend it to March 31st of 2027 so the environmental can continue their work.
Okay, we will bring back to the board for any questions or comments.
I'm honestly, personally, I'm in the same place on this as I was on the last item. I understand that this runs out at the end of December, but between December 31st and our next board meeting here, do we really expect any significant action to be happening that would be hampered by waiting until our next meeting?
Supervisor Peters, John Vallejo here. Perhaps there's a middle ground. I am loath to stop work on this project, given all of the other moving parts and the litigation surrounding efforts trying to stop us from doing this altogether. Perhaps there's a middle ground of a much shorter extension than a year plus. And then we can answer some of those questions that you wanna discuss in our January meeting.
Yeah, I'd be open to that if we extended it through our January meeting.
Did you have any, go ahead, John.
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to go there. I think obviously we need to hear from any other board members and the public kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, I would just raise a really big red flag about stopping work on this really, really important project. Even if it's just a temporary stop, the can of worms that might generate is unknown at this point and very concerning.
I concur with that. I have concerns about stopping the progress here with this project and some of the ramifications that it may have in other areas, whether it be with WRDA or funding or numerous other areas. So I would heed some caution in going in not moving forward with it. But I'm open to hearing from other board members right now.
And I'll just add that I'm with you. I don't want to stop work on this at all. But if my question is, just in doing our due diligence on this as stewards of taxpayer dollars, I just want to make sure that we have all the information to make the most informed decision that we can. So I was just wondering if there's any real work that's going to be done with CEQA NEPA permit documentation between December 31st and the second week of January. But again, I'm more than willing to entertain extending to that time if we do anticipate that.
Mr. Chairman, would you like to hear from Dawn Marple? She's heading up that work.
Sure.
Chair, Vice Chair, members of the board, Dawn Marple, Principal Planner at Provo and Pritchard. We are currently working with Omar, so I think between now and your January board meeting, we would have continued meetings with Omar. Those are, I think we have 6 currently scheduled. I don't think any of them extend past the end of this year. However, we are still incorporating some of the technical studies into the environmental document, which we're anticipating would be completed by May of next year. That's the schedule that we have with Omar right now. That will be presented as the overall project plan, in the overall project plan. So that's the environmental timeline right now. We're fairly close to finishing and wrapping that up, based on a few outstanding items from the design team, and we're close on that. So hope that helps answer your questions, but happy to answer more if you have them.
Great, thank you, appreciate that.
Supervisor Peters, were you suggesting extending the contract up until the end of January? And then reevaluating at that time?
Yeah, I'm not ready to make a motion right now, but that's definitely something I would entertain.
I would support that.
I would also support that.
Well, let's hear from the public, but I have a motion that's a slight different timeline, and I have a reason for it. But once we get there, I'm ready to discuss that before a motion's on the table.
Okay.
I didn't hear exactly what you said, John. Did you say you wanted to hear from the public?
I said, yeah, let's go and hear from the public if there's any public comment. I have a slightly different timeline in mind and a reason for it, but I'll wait till we hear from the public about any concerns they have before I discuss the timeline and before we put a motion on the table, actually.
Okay. Very good, we'll do that. Okay, so we'll move to the floor. Any public comment from the floor?
Yes, Judy Decker again. I'm somewhat alarmed at what I'm hearing from you this morning. I strongly urge you to continue with the CEQA documentation. The delays that have occurred with, in particular, the Bureau of Land Management that was forced to not work during the federal shutdown have affected your project. And doing environmental surveys for living things like plants and animals depend a lot upon the season. And if you delay this, you may possibly delay the whole affair by a large amount of time. And I think you should go forward with the CEQA part of it. She's telling you that they're almost finished with it. And you will still have a lengthy period for review by the public and other agencies once the document is published. So I strongly urge you to go forward with the CEQA document and the environmental review part of it.
Thank you, Judy.
Renee Westa, Lusk, Ridgecrest. I believe Jeff Helsley said that the environmental, as a contract runs out at the end of this month. So what is the consequences? How do you get that restarted? And does that increase costs? I'm worried about restarting something that you let expire, and then what happens then?
Jeff, would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, Keith may want to weigh in on this too, but, you know, if our contract expires, we would need to bring a new, you know, and the board wanted to go forward, we'd bring a new contract to the board. So, you know, update the scope of work with what work is left. There'd be, you know, some coordination and work to be done there to get it ready.
Does it take a long time to get that restarted? Like, does it take a month or two and then you're even further behind?
Again, Keith might want to weigh in. The contract itself, it's what we have has been acceptable. I assume we would just change the dates of that. We would probably need to update the scope and the budget to reflect where we're at, what we have left to do. That could take, you know, a few weeks going back and forth with the consultants on exactly what's included in that at this point.
I agree with Jeff's estimates.
I don't think it's a good idea to delay. I agree with what Judy said. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Renee. Caller, go ahead.
I didn't hear exactly what you said, John. Did you say you want to hear from the public? I said, yeah, let's go.
Caller, there's a delay on your YouTube. You're substantially behind where we are at this moment. So if you could mute your streaming device and submit your comment.
Okay, you ready?
Yep.
Hold on. Shall I go now?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Senat. I don't want to dig into what's happened on the environmental too deeply, but I'll say that if I think it's probable that Stantec was involved in that, and I view Stantec as an outside agent, basically, of the DWR. They may be an engineering firm, but they're an environmental activist firm to begin with. And the blaming of anything on the BLM is inappropriate. The BLM has told me that the application, the NEPA application, has to be restarted, which means another public comment period. Maybe some of the reports are done, but it was an incomplete application to begin with. So I would object to any involvement in this GA's functions by Stantec. And if Provost and Pritchard has put Stantec on their team going forward, that's a mistake. And I would not approve of that extension of Provost and Pritchard's responsibilities to Stantec. Thank you.
Any other public comment from the phones? Seeing none, we're going to go back to Director Vallejo.
Yeah, thank you. So the last item, if you notice that that we continued till January, I believe is when we're going to discuss it next. That contract ends March 31st, 2026. I think, this contract is also with Provost and Pritchard. I think we should make those two on the same timeline and then not jam ourselves up in the January meeting in case there's any sort of additional conversation or questions that we need. I don't think we should be getting into the dangerous territory of continued extensions, like meeting by meeting. So I think we should give ourselves some reasonable room, but also maintain the foreseeable pressure on making sure our questions are going to be answered and this project is going to be completed as we've agreed to with Provost and Pritchard and the others. So my recommendation and the motion I'm ready to make is to extend this agreement to be concurrent with the agenda item contract at issue under item 15, which would be until March 31st of 2026. That gives us a short window, but some breathing room to really dive into any questions Supervisor Peters and others on the board might have. So I'm ready to make that motion. I'm happy to discuss further if there's other concerns about that potential approach.
Okay. And I would second that motion. So
Yeah, I'd be happy to support that as well. I think that's reasonable.
All right, well, I'll make that motion then.
And I'll second
So
it.
essentially it's staff recommendation, except we are going to change the date until March 31st, 2026.
For the previous motion.
So for this item, for the CEQA NEPA documents.
Yeah, for item 16, staff's recommendation, except we're modifying it to be an extension until March 31st of 2026.
Okay. All right. Chairman Hayman?
Aye.
Vice Chair Peters?
Aye.
Director St. Amand?
I'll abstain.
Director Itnire?
Aye.
Director Vallejo?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving to item number 17, the Water Resources Manager Report. This will be with Steve Johnson and Stetson Engineering. Steve stated that he might not be able to make this, so Jeff, you're the star of the show today.
Oh, boy. Let me pull that up. Most of it's, just updates on what we have previously been reporting on. Sorry. Here we go. Apologize for the delay.
Are you still there, Jeff?
I am here. I'm sorry. Having a little bit of computer problem pulling up my
He's looking for files.
Okay.
file. Yeah. Am
Gotcha.
I muted?
You're good.
Thank you, sir. Here we go. Yeah, just apologize for that. Yeah, we're have some outstanding invoices with GWR under our grants, around 450,000 for our Sigma IP grant. We're waiting for them to approve and remit. We have around 180,000 of invoices in on the Urban Community Drought Relief Program grant that we're waiting for them to review and approve. You've heard quite a bit about the imported water project today. The activities mostly focus around coordination with BLM and importantly with Southern California Edison. We have been hoping to get Edison's final design of the power facilities that will go to the pump stations. I think we're still hoping to get that by the end of the month. That's sort of our critical path on our project, is to get that design, get it incorporated into our design, and importantly, get it incorporated into the environmental documents. That's something that the environmental folks might be working on during this extension period. You've heard about Omar's activities, which are included in our report. I think those, we did report here back in October. We went out and did data collection in the basin, groundwater levels and water quality levels. That's has been reviewed. I think it's being uploaded now into the database. And with that, those are the highlights that I'll point out unless there's any questions on our written report.
Thank you, Jeff. We'll bring back to the board for any questions or comments.
Do we have an estimate for the operational costs for the pipeline, the proposed pipeline?
I think there was some operational costs in the preliminary design report. I'm sorry, I don't recall what those were at the time.
Do you have any more? Could you develop some more recent, based on your increase in information, a better estimate at the operational costs and provide it to the Water District engineering staff?
I'm sorry, Director, I was trying to think if we've developed any additional operational data.
If you haven't, if you have it, what I would like is for that to be provided to our engineering staff.
Okay, we'll look and see
if you haven't, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I understand, Director. Yeah, we will look. If there's some new data, like I don't think we have any new estimates of like the energy requirements of the pump stations at this point. But if we had anything like that would change the estimates we've done before, we will provide that.
I would appreciate that. I don't expect an answer this instant. Computer age promised that we'd all be living a life of ease, and I know that's not true. In fact, it's gotten more complicated. All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll bring it to the floor for public comment. Seeing none, we'll go to the phones. Caller, go ahead.
complicated. All right, thank you, sir. Thank you. Hello.
We can hear you, caller. Go ahead.
Thank you. I was wondering, sir, could you give us a general report or some feedback on what the monitoring and well totals were? In other words, just a little hint maybe of what they are telling us.
I'm sorry, but I haven't actually reviewed the data myself. I know that they've started looking at that and have already started on the annual report for next year using that data, but I have not looked at the results myself. I'd be surprised if it showed, well, we'll have to see what the analysis shows.
Okay, I just was curious.
Yeah, good question.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no further public comment, that concludes item number 17. We'll move now to item number 18, the general manager's report, and this will be with our general manager, Carol.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A few things to talk about this afternoon. One, I want to say we were not able to produce the 2024 audit for this meeting. We will have it next month, though. We've been assured that it will be ready for review at that time. In the meantime, we do have a financial report, and I don't know if it made it to the packet yet, but it should be okay. So we were having some trouble. The county's still working the bugs out of its new accounting system, but we were able to get data to produce the financial statements through November. So those figures are available for you in the financial statements. And then we also thought it might be helpful for you to hear a presentation on the issues we had with the credit that basically held up the audit for a couple of years, trying to straighten up and better understand the credits that the water district took, and then the repayments and squaring those. And April's put a lot of time into putting together a spreadsheet for you. And she's going to take a few minutes to walk through that with you so you can see what those numbers look like.
So in your packet is a larger picture of a finer detail that I did pass through Ty as well. So it takes the reported pumping that we get for their extraction payments, subtracting the allocation they receive every year of 4,390 acre feet for a total of almost $9.5 million of free water. When you subtract that, you get their total subject to the augmentation fee, which is, again, the $2,130 per acre foot. The last column, you will get what their payment should be based on the pumping I've received. Where we ran into the credit issue is for the years 2021, 22, and 23, Don Zadiba had created a payment schedule. So how it was created was he's taking the prior year's pumping and then portioning out the allocation throughout the months to use higher allocations in the summer, lower allocation in the winter to kind of offset the increase in payments. That augmentation money has always been collected as a pass-through fee from their customers. I believe it was just to, in case of system losses, things of that nature, it was to help kind of subsidize that impact to the budget. However, I am not sure where the reconciliation came into play, but we were made aware in 2024 that the district was requesting a $1.7 million credit. After numerous discussions with Ty, he had sent me and I know we went through this, but just to refresh everybody, he did send me a spreadsheet that was from their auditors. It, however, had a lot of columns that were related to their billing tier and things that just were not relevant for the GA. So I took this spreadsheet, and like I said, there is more of a kind of fine detail that spreads it out month by month, and walked through it with Ty. We came to agreement on the number. So in the years of 2024 and 2025, they took portions of that credit to use it over a 2-year period rather than requesting it all at once. And that credit will run out at the end of this year. So the numbers you're looking at are subject to change because the last few months are estimated based on the fact that the year is not over. So in February, I will probably meet again with Ty just to kind of reacquaint ourselves with the credit, make sure that we're all squared away. And going forward, the district has no longer used their payment schedule. they are collecting it as a pass-through fee and paying the GA in the same manner as a pass-through fee. Therefore, we should not run into this issue going forward. The credit will be, like I said, resolved by the end of this year, and we should see an increase to our replenishment account due to the credit no longer being part of our budget. And if you have any questions, I am happy to answer them.
No questions, but I do appreciate your work in addressing this issue and working with the Water District Finance to bring it to a much more clear and recognizable end-of-the-year format. So thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you resolving this. Clearly, the original estimated system was not good, not effective. District users tend to save more and more water with every year, so clearly it has to be changed. I appreciate you taking the initiative and getting that squared away so it's done on an as-needed basis so we can eliminate these refunds. So that just complicates everybody's life.
Yes, and we appreciate the district taking over a 2-year period and not all at once. So thank you.
You're welcome.
We have a brief outreach update, and that is just to let you know that Westbound is working to finalize the website improvements, and we'll be migrating the data, the new look to our website very soon. I've seen the mock-ups for the website, what the pages will look like. We've been having for the mobile site as well. So we're really excited to see that happen, and should be very soon, within the next few weeks. And the last item is the Capital Corps report. I think everything was covered previously that Capital Corps has to report. I see Todd is still on the line. Don't know if Michael's with us and if they have anything to add.
Michael said we do not have anything extra. You covered it all.
Very good. So that's my report.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, we'll bring it to the floor for any public comment on item number 18.
Renee Westelusk, on the updating of the website, is that going to make sure you don't lose any information that's already on there, that everything will be included up to the changes?
And April's been working closely with the consultant. I believe we've archived some of the older information, but April can provide detail.
Yeah, to clean up the amount of information that is on here, we are archiving the years prior to 2020. So those documents obviously will still be with the GA and can be requested to be reviewed, but they will not be on the website unless they are kind of larger impactful decisions. For example, the bylaws, the JPA, those types of documents will remain on the website.
And what about all those other, I guess what you'd call them, ordinances, they'll still be posted?
We will keep the same idea there as well, keeping the more impactful ordinances and resolutions, smaller ones like appointing TAC members or changing the bylaws for an address change. We will likely just keep those in the GA archive, again, just to make sure that the website is being user-friendly and not congested with information that is not as important as other documents.
Will it be easy to find things from the past, going back to 2020? Because you've got that replenishment fee. I forgot what ordinance, and what about the extraction fee? Those things will remain on the website somewhere?
Yes, those will definitely be on the website. And if you view the website and you feel like it is still not as user-friendly as it should be, I'm always open to suggestions, and you can give me an email.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, caller, go ahead.
Okay, so we'll still be with the GA.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Thank you. This is Mike Sanat one more time. April did I'm sure it was very complicated doing what April did with those spreadsheets. I know a lot about spreadsheets and trying to balance everything. But I wanted to point out one thing. There's no such thing as free water. And you used the term, she used the term free water. The water that the water district pumps is our water. It's not free, but it's our water. And that's an important thing to keep in mind. This whole law of Sigma undermines private property rights, which include water rights. And I think the best term that you can give to this, quote, free water is replenishment fee free water or pipeline free water, as far as not having to pay anything extra because of this GA's insistence on developing a pipeline. So we wouldn't need a replenishment fee. We would simply need to discontinue this plan for a pipeline, buy some water, and do a swap. Okay? Voila, $400 million saved. Maybe someday, if I live long enough, you'll thank the water district for doing what they're doing today. Instead of complaining, Renee, about adjudication was absolutely necessary. That's what the law provides for. So in order to protect our water rights, everybody's water rights, this basin needed to be adjudicated. That's all I need to say. Thank you very much, and have a great weekend, April.
Okay, seeing no further public comment, that concludes item number 18. Item number 19 is the date of the next meeting, which will be January 14th, 2026. And with that, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.